Interesting anecdote that this is Ed Sheeran's favorite whiskey.
Yeah, Ed Sheeran does in fact have a tattoo of an Aberfeldy bottling on his arm.
A tattoo?
He's got a tattoo.
Wow, wow. So listen, drink a couple of these and tattoo, if nothing else, the brand.
We can't guarantee you'll be able to end up singing professionally after drinking some whiskey, but you'll certainly think you can.
Fraser, welcome to India.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's your first visit to India.
It is my first visit to India.
Fabulous, and we are super excited. Fraser is the global brand ambassador for Dewars. Some fabulous blended malts, and he's going to tell us about it.
Yeah.
And also, we're going to learn a little bit about Aberfeldy.
Sure.
So let's start with Dewars. I heard that the founder's son was quite a hustler. He's even visited India.
Absolutely, yeah. He was basically the reason why Dewars became a globally iconic Scotch whisky brand. He travelled the world for 2 years between 1892 to 1894, going to 26 different countries, one of which was India.
Wow.
But he was known for a lot of things. He was obviously a marketeer, a bon vivant. He really loved to promote Dewars in weird and wonderful ways. One of which was actually when he was living in London, he actually invented a bike wheel which had the words John Dewar's Perth Scotch Whisky on the outside of the wheel. So when in London, these wheels would go through muddy puddles and leave trails all over the streets of London saying John Dewar's Perth Whisky.
Oh, nice. So you leave your mark wherever you go if you're drinking a Dewars, right?
Exactly right, yeah.
Because, you know, when you're drinking great whiskey, apart from the taste, you really remember great whiskey with the stories that you tell.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, that's really why I took this job, is so I could share all these stories with people around the world over a dram.
Yeah.
And so on the subject of wheels, Tommy Dewar was one of the first 3 people in the UK to own a motor car.
Right. 3 people.
3. So one of the other guys was one of his best friends, another Tommy, who was Tommy Lipton of Lipton's Tea.
Right.
And so they were known as Whiskey Tom and Tea Tom. And these guys, despite the fact there were only 2 of 3 guys having motor cars in the UK, still managed to crash into each other.
That's a hilarious story. I hope they didn't have too much to drink before that.
So we'll start off with trying a little bit of Dewars 15.
Sure.
Which is a blend which we've had since 2009. And this is the handiwork of our amazing master blender, who is Stephanie McLeod.
Thank you.
So the inspiration for this blend was actually using green tea samples from China to create quite a floral, sort of honeyed, fruity style of blend.
Wow, so there's the notes of green tea, honey.
So the honey is something you'll notice quite a lot in a lot of our Dewars blends, which comes from this amazing single malt, which is Aberfeldy, which we'll talk about in a second.
Right.
So in this, obviously, you've got some really nice kind of some fruity aromas. It's very mixable as well, so it's great in highballs. It's great in cocktails. I mean, I'm a bartender. I love mixing whiskey and different drinks to appease different people, because not everyone loves or has had a whiskey neat for the first time. So sometimes it's good to give them a highball, some soda, or a cocktail for their first whiskey experience. Special process called double aging, which is something we've been pioneering since the late 1800s. And so what we mean by double aging is when we make these amazing blends, we mix together all of our single malts along with our grain whiskies, but before we put it straight in the bottle, we put it back into oak casks for a period of up to 6 months. And so this marries all the beautiful aromas and flavors together, much like when you're cooking a sauce, like you guys would make here in the restaurant. You've got all the flavors, and then sometimes you leave it marinating for a while, just to combine everything together.
Fraser, a lot of people ask us that when an expression has been aged for say 18 years or 15 years, does the blending happen before before they're put into the cask and aged, or does it happen after the 15-18 years that the blending takes place?
So it's a great question. So what we do is we obviously make our single malts first and foremost. So we would have an example, like a blend like Dewars, we have up to 40 single malts, and we also have our
40
up to 40 single malts. So it's like an orchestra. You're conducting all these different flavors going on.
Right.
And so basically you have your single malts and you've got your grain whiskey. So you cannot make a blend without single malts. So this is what we need first. We need a single malt to make our blends. But actually what's interesting about the Scotch whisky industry is that blends accounts for 90% of our exports from Scotland, from Scotch whisky. These are only 10%. So really, blended Scotches are what keep the Scotch whisky industry alive and kicking.
That this is Ed Sheeran's favorite whiskey.
Yeah, Ed Sheeran does in fact have a tattoo of an Aberfeldy bottling on his arm.
A tattoo?
He's got a tattoo.
Wow, wow. So listen, drink a couple of these and tattoo, if nothing else, the brand.
We can't guarantee you'll be able to end up singing professionally after drinking some whiskey, but you'll certainly think you can. But so the interesting thing about Aberfeldy is this was the only distillery that the Dewars brothers ever built back in 1898.
Right.
And the reason they wanted the distillery is to have this amazing heart single malt, which would go into the Dewars blend from that point forward.
Right.
So Aberfeldy has this amazing rich, honey, fruity characteristic which really shines through in our blends. But this is our amazing 21-year-old Aberfeldy. Minimum aging of 21 years, combination of bourbon cask and sherry cask maturation. So you get those lovely honey, vanilla notes, loads of sherry, dark chocolate and spices coming through.
That's what I love about this whiskey, that it's singing these sherry notes in your mouth, and I can understand why Ed Sheeran loves it. So hey, slanchas.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. If you love drinking wine and want to know more, do subscribe to Vino Tribe now.